Chaotically Nerdy is a podcast made by nerds for nerds. This podcast is made by adults, for adults, and children with bad parents. Adult language will be used and adult situations may arise. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chaotically Nerdy. On today's episode with me is
Jarrett
and
Ethan.
You said that so flat, like you really don't want to be here for this episode. So today's episode, we're going to talk about The Rings of Power, the Amazon show prequel to Lord of the Rings, I guess, and the Hobbit series.
It's definitely a prequel. It happens
I know.
before them.
I was trying to think I didn't know if it had something to do with the books. Like, I don't know.
It's
Tolkien,
from
so I don't know if
the end
it's
of the Silmarillion and partly from the Unfinished Tales.
Okay, so it's pulled from some books at least.
From stuff that he wrote that was compiled by his
son.
son, Christopher Tolkien.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we should explain. We have three different levels of like
Tolkien knowledge.
Tolkien knowledge. We have Ethan, who is like the I don't want to say expert, but the most knowledgeable of us on.
I'm more well versed in it. Yeah.
Like, rate yourself on knowledge scale of 1 to 10.
Of Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
Tolkien stuff.
Yeah.
7.5 to 8.5.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you got for
Like
you,
a
Jared?
4.
Okay, I'm at a 1.
Yeah.
I don't know shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna piss Ethan off so bad right now. I've watched Lord of the Rings twice.
They're not.
No, at least you've watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they weren't,
Were they the extended
They were
editions?
the extended
Okay,
editions.
good.
And that's why I've only watched them twice
was
because
gonna
they were
leave.
so goddamn long.
It's like 12 and a half hours long. It's
It's a lot.
I can't. So, I did watch Rings of Power because Ethan kept giving me shit about it every time I tried to watch any
Yeah, I
other
did.
show.
Well, also because we were going to fucking talk about it.
That's what I've been waiting for.
He didn't watch all the DC movies. We made a DC
There's a reason
episode.
for that. They
That was-
suck. This
that
doesn't.
was also a selection he had watched. It's going to be hard for you to talk about a show if you've watched none of it.
I watched a good 10 minutes the first time I tried. And that's all I got out of it. And then I was like, I got to watch something different. So let's just jump into it. Fuck it. What did we like about the season?
Let's start with you.
Oh, God damn it.
Well, we're starting at the low end. We're going to move up.
Yeah. You're
Okay.
the layman here.
I thought that it was beautiful. Like, as far as the way everything looked, it was gorgeous. The actors and actresses did a very good job. I liked it's Galadriel, right?
Yeah.
I liked her. I liked, what was the other elf? Elrond?
Elrond.
And the dwarf.
Yeah,
Durin.
The fourth.
I liked those three stuck out to me probably the most as likable characters. The little, the halfling.
Nori.
She's not a halfling, but
I mean, no, she is.
yes, I liked her as well. Those are probably the 4 that stuck out to me the most. The other Sauron.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Slash Halbrand.
Halbrand. I couldn't remember his actual name. I did like him, but as we get to talking about that later, we can describe that. Listen, just because I see the name doesn't mean anything
That's
to
fair,
me.
yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of them in the show.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally sitting here trying to think of the episodes as I watch them.
What about Arondir? You didn't like Arondir?
Who the fuck's Arondir?
The Black Elf.
The Black Elf.
He was all right.
Yeah.
I wasn't like super.
I was that's what, we have like 4 storylines throughout this whole thing.
And that, I think, was part of the reason. So I know Ethan really liked the show. I didn't think it was a bad show. I also didn't think it was a good
I have my
a
problems
great
with
show.
it. Yeah.
I would have been perfectly fine not watching it. Had it not been for the podcast, I wouldn't have watched it. It didn't catch me. It didn't drag me in. I didn't find myself really wanting to watch episode after episode after episode.
If you don't know what's going to happen already, I could see where somebody might have trouble getting into it. And I could see how somebody might have trouble like wanting to actually watch it.
Yeah. That was my biggest thing about it was not that I didn't want to watch it because they weren't bad. It just didn't.
You didn't have that need to like watch it the second it came out. You're like,
Exactly. And even then, I didn't have the need to. I would watch an episode and I'd be like, do I really want to spend another hour and 15 minutes watching the next episode?
That's why it's easier to watch when it just comes out every week.
It is, but I didn't do that. House of the Dragons took importance.
They're on 2 different days.
I don't care. I only got a few days to watch them anyway, so.
They're like an hour apiece.
I know. Too goddamn long.
I've brought this up before. How much anime did you watch in that time period?
I watched less anime in that time period than I did Rings of Power, than one episode of Rings of Power. Yep.
Yeah, remember when I watched 2 episodes, which is 40 minutes versus an hour of...
An hour and 15, because most of those were over an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're better.
I would...
They're better. It's not even subjective.
It is
I
subjective.
mean, it depends what the anime is.
It's objectively better.
It was Chainsaw Man, and it's very good.
I haven't seen
It's
it,
objectively
so I
better than
can't.
Chainsaw Man. I tried to watch it. I did. I've gotten into more anime because you made me
Look
watch
at what
them.
we started.
I haven't watched it. I've just seen like the memes of the people acting like him in the fucking like mall,
Yeah.
and like grocery shops and stuff. Like,
Okay,
Chainsaw Man.
so I about called you Ethan. Jarrett, we'll just work our way up from least knowledgeable to most knowledgeable as far as what we
Sure.
liked about it.
I like, again, it's very beautiful. It just immediately reminds me of Lord of the Rings, like not The Hobbit.
I will say this. While it is very beautiful, I had problems with the shots because it's the same thing that they do in Lord of the Rings where they show the shots of the beautiful scenery for like 15 seconds.
Too long.
It's too fucking long. Like you could have cut down the show by 10 minutes an episode had you just not.
I think that was because they were trying to stick to more Jackson-esque
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings storytelling, which is long, sweeping shots.
Yeah.
And
But
I
it's
understand
very,
that
like,
to a
Yeah.
degree. It just
But I agree. I have to agree with you on that.
But it looks beautiful. I am at least slightly interested in most of the storylines. One of them, I'm like, I don't really care.
I know which one.
Yeah.
which one? Because I don't.
It's Arondir and
Yeah.
his, which his might end up getting like combined in with,
Galadriel's.
Galadriel's.
Yeah.
But that was generally the least interesting one.
I liked it when they were with the orcs. Like when they were
Sure.
slaves
It was more
and trying to get
interesting.
out. That's what I liked the most about the show probably was seeing those instances that were a little more action packed.
I think that one actually got better as it went along.
Yeah.
That storyline did.
But and then I did like how we ended. I like the ending. It's making me excited for I don't know if necessarily like season 2, but like the general show as a whole. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let's do this. Yeah,
Okay. Is that it? Anything else?
not really.
Nothing. Go for it, Ethan.
Well,
Fuck. Here we go for 30 minutes.
no, I'll try to shorten it up. So right before it came out, I reread the section in the Silmarillion and some of the stuff that has to do with it in the extended works of Tolkien. And I read it again afterwards. And I think both showed that for the most part, they stuck to the storyline of what was going to happen. Now, they did try to make it seem like they were going to deviate more from the storyline, but in the end, it really kept most of its like story from the original works.
Maybe like slightly different journey, but still got to the same destination.
Well, between the time skips or the time squishes and then a whole bunch of stuff like with certain characters have a little bit different traits and stuff like that, or they have a little different skill sets. But for the most part, they stuck to the storyline as it's supposed to be. For the most part, I really loved it. There were a few things that I had problems with, but there were a few things that I had problems with from Lord of the Rings too, and that is probably my favorite, if not, top favorite series of all time. So, I'll leave it there for that because we're going to talk more about some of the other stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So let's jump into. Actually, I don't see it on here, but I'm going to add something.
It's fine.
Talk about things that we didn't like about it.
Okay, sure.
I've already said that I didn't like the long sweeping shots. It's not that they're not beautiful. It just
Overdone.
it's overdone, and it's times where there's nothing added. Like there's no voiceover. There's like you could have gave me people talking in those instances, and I don't need to see them talking. Does that make sense? You can then cut to, if you want to show the dwarven mind and cut to Elrond and
Durin.
I'm going to fuck up everybody's name and piss a bunch of people off. But yes, you can cut to them talking already, and that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. And that's probably my biggest complaint. And then they did the exact opposite of House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon says people's names constantly. I feel like nobody's name is said.
It's kind of hard to not to know people's names.
Like they will say it once at the very start of the conversation, and if you miss that, you miss it for a whole episode, basically.
Well, like the Elf King. Do you remember his name?
Fuck no.
The Elf King. It starts with a G, right?
Yep.
Yep. I can't remember. Go ahead.
Gilgalad.
Gilgalad.
Yeah, they say it once. You're right. They say it only once.
And I watched the show with subtitles, and it says like blank says, and I still can't remember names.
Yeah.
I have to ask him all the time what fucking Isildur's dad's name is. I'm like, what's his name? Fucking
Isildur?
no, his dad.
Elendil.
Yeah, I have it wrote down here, but I was oh yeah, what's his name?
Or Elendil, depending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, they're just a lot of the names are like fucking hard to pronounce in general.
Well,
That-
and
that is Tolkien for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's a fucking linguist, and he's like, I'm gonna make this
I
way
can
too
pronounce
in-depth.
it and nobody else can.
Yep,
I think those are my two, and that made it harder for me to follow along.
it's hard to get into
And so
if you're not able to follow.
If you hear it more often, it's easier to say. It's much like the Targaryens, like you said. If
Yeah.
you hear it more often, you'd be able to pick it up a lot easier.
And
like
you're
if you
able
hear
to-
Gilgalad more often, you will be able to pronounce Gilgalad. Elendil is the same way.
Well, and especially if they're talking to somebody and using that name often, it then associates that face
Yeah,
with that name, and then all of a sudden you can remember who they are.
yeah.
I didn't particularly like the first like 2 episodes because they're really exposition heavy because they have to do a lot of work to get you to where you're ready.
Scene setting.
Yeah, scene setting. I didn't really like.
I feel like there's a better way to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's always hard with Tolkien because he has so much lore and stuff. You kind of have to know beforehand to like.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
like if you go watch Fellowship of the Ring, there's
Yeah.
a solid 30-minute exposition at the beginning. Well, it's not 30 minutes, it's like 15, but still, it's pretty long for an exposition at the beginning of a movie. I agree.
Yeah, it's just I was like,
And then anything in particular that stood out that we haven't already mentioned
yeah,
that you didn't like?
for our Tolkien expert.
Actually, my
pissed you
biggest
off?
problem is a casting choice. Now, I do like Robert Aramayo, but
Yeah,
having seen Hugo Weaving play having seen Hugo Weaving play Elrond already, Robert does not look anything like Hugo Weaving.
I noticed.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
that stuck out to me, and I
He
was
looks,
like,
yeah, he looks like Dookie Howser. So
yeah.
I'm not. It's not a joke. That's what he looks like.
I can see it, yeah.
Mostly it's that, and a lot of people seem to think that people had a problem with like elves of different races or dwarfs from different like color skins.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares, and it doesn't even make a difference in the show at all.
No.
Like, if
But
you
that
have
was-
a problem with it, you have a problem.
Yeah, that was the big-
nobody else does.
I remember the first shot of the trailer was like Arondir, which I don't even remember if it's in the show or not. It's him like climbing up a waterfall or something, right? Or on a ledge.
Yeah, they showed him in that, but he wasn't there in the show.
I don't
Yeah.
think that ever actually happened, but they showed that, and everybody was like,
It's a black elf. And then
"How dare they?"
That's exactly how I imagined that.
if you have a problem with that,
Why?
go get an education somewhere. Did you not
Jesus.
finish your high school degree?
Probably not. But
My problem is mostly with,
I mean, granted, if you haven't finished your high school, it's 2022.
but for the show itself, my problem is mostly with a few of the casting choices. But for the most part, everyone seems to be doing pretty good. I think Morford Clark is a great replacement, and I think Halbrand was really good.
Absolutely.
Of course, the previous actor was
I don't know who it was. Probably somebody got a mocap suit. Probably.
no, it was just a voice actor, and
I'm
it
assuming
was
they had somebody there on
Benedict
set.
Cumberbatch. Yeah, Cucumberpatch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was just a voice.
I'm thinking
so there's
of-
no real
I'm
replacement.
thinking of Lord of the Rings. You're talking about when he's in
in the Hobbit. I said the
Hobbit,
most recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I forgot he was in. I forgot that he was technically in that movie.
actually, I have to agree with both of your statements. There's too much exposition. There's better ways to tell a story than just
Yeah,
telling you the story.
yeah.
Yeah.
You show the story. That's where the Lord of the Rings expedition was good.
That's like
they showed it to you and then told you what was happening on screen.
Yeah.
They didn't just explain it through conversation with Galadriel telling you whole paragraphs.
It's a combination, show and tell at the same time.
And then I have to agree with there's some weird pacing issues that I think they'll probably get better at knowing what's coming. Mm-hmm. There's
Hopefully
going to be a lot of stuff coming.
Okay. So now we get to talk about the changes to Galadriel from the books.
Yeah.
Which I would say I'm actually at a 0 knowledge.
Well,
I said 1,
try to
but that's because
explain
that's
that.
the lowest you could go. I'm probably a 0.
So Galadriel in the books is more of, if you were to put her into a D&D class, you'd probably put it more in the lines of a wizard or a cleric or something like that. In the show, she's more of like
A fighter, a
a
warrior.
fighter or warrior of some sort.
She's more like, it's very, to me, it's one of the things like
It's not bad.
in my brain, it was just like, I always inversed her and Elrond. Like, Elrond was a fighter.
Yeah.
Like, he was a warrior, because that's the first thing we see him as, is a warrior in Lord of the Rings. And then Galadriel is like this, like, queen diplomat, kind of like royalty person. And like, they flip it. I'm like, okay, weird.
And maybe they're gonna pursue that later with her
Of the flipping.
having a ring later on. Going to be flipping that back.
Yeah.
And that would be nice. That'd be nice to see more fighting from Robert Aramayo because he was really good in Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. I mean, I said,
So
I'm picturing the Tower of Joy in my head. And I just said
the biggest changes are that and her personality. She's supposed to be very even tempered.
No, she's
Where in the show she's
aggressive.
not.
More emotional.
Yeah, which is both of those are fine changes to me. The other big thing is that where is her husband? Her husband is supposed to be with her this whole time.
Yeah.
But he's gone right now.
Yeah. He is.
That's probably one of the biggest changes to
Yeah.
me.
He's mentioned once,
Yeah.
and he's dead.
So on the
What's her? Is it
Celebrimbor.
Celebrimbor, yeah.
It's not Celebrimbor.
Not Celebrimbor.
It's
This is
Celebrimbor.
where it gets really fucking confusing.
I will tell you, Celebrimbor is the only one not only one, but I actually knew that name.
because of
Yep, because of the video game.
Shadow of Mordor.
Yep.
Yep.
I was like, hey,
Yeah.
He doesn't look anything like
No.
the Wraith.
well, obviously.
Yeah. Because he doesn't get turned into a Wraith because that can't happen to elves. I hate that game so much for that reason. It's a fun game. It's a really fun game, but it is
Love that game.
lore-wise garbage.
I don't give a fuck about lore though. I care
know
about
you
fun.
don't. I know
I
you
just
don't.
want to go around killing orcs
It's a
or
lot of
making them
fun.
mad.
It's a lot of fun. Driving them crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, probably at some point, her husband will show up, and she'll be like, "You were dead, but you're alive."
I have predictions about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll actually meet the stranger off in Rune,
That could make sense.
which is way off to the east.
the East.
So, the east.
the East.
East. Rune, north of Moria.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So now let's talk about timeline shenanigans, which I have no idea what
This
that
is
means.
just more of like Ethan.
There's like, I'm going to be explaining so much.
Ethan's going to be giving us exposition.
There's like,
listen, I'm fine with that.
between,
You may make me enjoy the show more.
between the time that the rings are made and the War of the Ring, there's like, it's not just hundreds. It's like 1200 to 2000 years
Okay.
between when the rings are made and then.
Yeah.
And that's really the span of the rise and decline of Numenor.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's really what is the main story of that time period is Numenor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they basically went, that's too long. Squish.
Gotcha.
Which for
So
the
that we
show,
can see
it makes a
everything.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
For the show, it makes a lot of
But
sense.
it was really
Makes it feel
confusing.
more urgent.
Yeah, it was really confusing at the beginning when we're all, I'm getting this. Ethan's like, man, we got like, this doesn't make any sense. Just like they have so many, like hundreds of years until the,
Yeah.
you're like,
Until this happens.
You're like, I don't know how it's going to work. I'm like, oh,
Well, it just time squished. And I get that now. At first, I was really confused because it didn't make any sense.
Also, yeah, they just don't tell you where they are and what year it is in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
don't.
act
Which
like
I will-
Tolkien doesn't give like very precise, like, a year.
Well, it's
by-
like 1800 years before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. But they act like
Yeah.
like he doesn't have like, if you go look at the appendices for any of those books, he has like in 1800 such and such, you know.
Yeah.
I would argue that's better for a
But just give us like at
a lower knowledge person.
Sure, but like
on
yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, it
but
is.
very much like how House of Dragons at the beginning says this is 172 years before Daenerys. Would be like, this is blank many years before the Fellowship
I'm
of the
glad
Ring.
they didn't. I'm
Yeah.
glad they didn't. Now that I've watched it, I'm
Yeah.
really glad they didn't do like
A specific year.
flashbacks or the rings are already made. You know?
Because coming from someone who doesn't know as much about it and didn't even know that there was that large of a time gap between everything.
Tolkien really likes his fucking big ass large time
well,
gaps.
it's elves, right?
Yeah,
They
and
live
I understand
forever.
that.
Yeah.
I understood that part, and I knew there was I knew there was a time gap. Didn't know it was as big a one as that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's different than in D&D. So if you go into D&D and you look at like the lifespan of elves, it's literally
Yeah.
up to at a maximum of like 2,500
Yeah.
years. Elves in Tolkien do not age.
Yeah, they're immortal.
They do not age.
Well, not
they
immortal,
never
but
die.
They
of
can
old
only be
age.
died.
And they
don't
really
die
don't
physically.
die of any diseases either.
Yeah.
So
Don't
they
die.
never die unless it's violence.
Yeah, through violence.
Which, yeah, there was a lot of violence in the Silmarillion. Lots of
was.
people died. But
A lot of violence in the show too.
which was actually really well done. Even the stuff involving just the sparring
Yeah.
was actually really good.
Yeah, there was
It was a little weird, but
There was like a specific difference is when Halbrand fucking attacks those like 5 Numenorian nobles or like upper class guys, whatever they are. I don't know. They're like guild people,
guild master,
guild persons,
members,
yeah, members,
something.
and like he breaks the guy's arm around the. I'm like, oh, this is a different kind of violence than like in the show or in the movies.
It was
'Cause it's
alarming.
Like, it's like very much like, oh, this is like, you know, the boys style, like very graphic.
Yeah,
Like, oh fuck. No, it's not like blowing up a penis graphic, but
but no, the time
I mean,
the
yeah,
time
he didn't blow up
squish
the penis,
makes it a
but he-
lot more. I don't know, consumable.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
it was a good choice.
So now we jump into who did we think Sauron was throughout the show?
yeah. Did you think Sauron was anybody?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. Like, I wonder about how people like that don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, like if they know that Sauron is supposed to exist in this time, or if they just be like, oh yeah, he's dead.
So I did, but that come from the picture of the wizard bitch. She's not a wizard. I don't know what she actually is, but the one that showed up. Like,
She's a cultist of Sauron.
yes,
and
near
Morgoth.
the end. I remember seeing that picture and people saying, this is Sauron, and just absolutely blasting it. So I knew that Sauron was going to be in the show because of that.
And
I had different people that as time went on, it would change.
Yeah.
And then once we kind of got to a certain point, I was stuck with
yeah,
Halbrand. Like, I was pretty convinced that it was him.
I think I was on it pretty much from whenever he starts being like, I'm a smith. I'm like, it's him. And they kind of did like the fake out, like, that's actually not him.
Yeah.
It was only up to the point that they mentioned that he might be
King of the Southlands.
the king of the Southlands, because that was like the main like notifier in the things was what at that time he was known as the king of the Southlands.
Gotcha. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So for me, and this is going to sound bad, it literally just came off the feeling that he gave me.
Oh, that's the same thing. I'm like, I don't know stuff. I'm like, he just gives me like this evil
Yeah.
vibe sometimes. I'm like,
So there was, if I remember right, 4 people that I thought might have been Sauron to me.
I had 4. They may not be the same 4, but I had 4.
There's
Halbrand.
Halbrand, obviously, which that came apart whenever he was when they got to the city.
Into Numenor, yeah.
Yeah, into Numenor. Whenever they got there, that's when I was kind of like, something's a little off about him.
Yeah.
The old man that like,
The stranger.
no, not the. I mean, the
Fair-
stranger, yes, at the very start, the stranger, but
Farazan?
quickly was dismissed.
Farazan?
I don't know his name.
The old guy
a-
from Numenor.
No, it was the old guy that was
Oh,
in
oh.
like the wilderness
I don't
type
remember what his
area
name is, but
that
the-
grabbed the sword from the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like had that. I was like, maybe. And
I
then
wouldn't want to mind, but yeah.
the orc captain.
Oh, Adar, yeah.
Yeah,
Adar.
I was.
I
for
was
some
pretty
reason,
sure
I felt
that
him.
wasn't going to be him. from the first time they brought him out because it was too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was obvious, but that's why I was like, maybe it is.
I had Halbrand, obviously, the Stranger, the Stranger, we just couldn't figure out who the fuck he was for the longest time. We were just like, is he Gandalf? Is he a blue wizard? Who is he?
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't, they just wouldn't really give us any.
That was my first assumption when they had when he
Yeah.
came down in the big fireball thing, was that it was going to be the Stranger because of the big rune.
Yeah.
The big fire rune thing that he came down in. That was my original assumption until they mentioned that Halbrand was supposed to be like the king.
But I had those two. I had, this was only for like episode 8 or 7, whenever the attack happens.
Yeah.
And they're all and whenever Arondir hides the sword, the hilt, he gave this fucking like weird look, and I was like, would it be Arondir? I was like, oh. He had like some really fucking weird, sneaky thing he was doing. And I also knew it was probably going to be somebody that's not like a character that is from the lore. So I was like, it's not going to be like fucking Elrond, obviously, because we know that person.
Yeah.
So
Depending on the time scale, I was also this was an interesting thing. I thought because of the nature of what Sauron is, he's essentially a spirit, a really powerful spirit,
Yeah.
called a Maiar. And they can change forms and they can possess people.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if he was going to be using vessels instead of having an actual form himself. So I was thinking he was going to like take over the kid.
I guess that could still technically happen.
I guess through the sword. I know people online are thinking that the kid is going to end up being like the Witch King, but Angmar's not a thing yet.
Yeah.
So it can't be. That can't be it.
Obviously, my fourth guess was Adar, but I was like, much like Ethan, I was like, smells fishy to me, too obvious. I was like, don't have the right amount of stank on it.
So the way you worded this is, who do you think the Stranger is?
It's not confirmed. They have never.
I know
like,
it's not confirmed, but
it's very much on the nose. But I'm like, they could still, if they wanted to, be like,
you can't tell me it's anybody but Gandalf.
I
You can, but I'm not going to believe you.
It's one of the wizards.
it's one of the wizards.
It's we know that much.
Well, we've pretty much known
I'm
that from the
convinced
beginning.
it's Gandalf
Well,
until
no,
they tell me otherwise.
It was confirmed in the show that it's one of the wizards because whenever the three cultists are trying to get him, they think he's Sauron trying to get him to do stuff, and then they realize that he's not.
Because the wizards are also Maiar, right?
They are also Maiar.
Yes.
That's what confused me. Like, wait a minute.
I've read just enough about that kind of.
But they say Ishtar instead.
Yes.
And Ishtar is the name given to the wizards as a whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's what they are.
Yeah.
They are the Ishtari.
Yeah, I've read the wiki.
Yeah.
Enough to understand that much of it.
Yeah.
So he's got like a 1.5.
I'd say
I'm
leaving it at 1.
that was for anyone listening.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he is one of the wizards. Which one he is?
He's Gandalf.
Again, this show also has like just fucking like went around this with like who he's been the entire season. It wouldn't surprise me if it's not fucking Gandalf at all. It'd be like,
There are 3 names that they might use for this but I don't know if they're going to use Gandalf.
yeah,
They might name him Olorin instead because that is his actual name.
Gotcha.
That is his like true name. If we're
But it
going to
would
use
still
that.
be
Olorin
essentially
or
Gandalf.
Mithrandir would be if the elves are talking about him.
yeah,
Or the Numenorians because their language is based off of Elvish.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so he may not actually be called Gandalf, but if they use one of those names, it's Gandalf. If it's not, I'm like, all right, well, are you?
Did I say Noldor? I meant Numenorian, not Noldor.
you said-
Totally
I
different.
think you said Numenorian, but maybe you didn't.
Yeah, you did say Numenor.
Okay, I did not mean Noldor. If I said Noldor, I meant Numenorian.
Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was Saruman, or I don't think it's Radagast, but I guess it could be because And then I forget the other names of the wizards.
No, I doubt it's Radagast. Radagast power level is lower
lower.
than that. Yeah, it's not above 9,000.
It's like a Yamcha.
That's rough, buddy.
But
I will say most people that I have seen online are leaning towards Gandalf
I
because
also
of
think it's Gandalf, but
the final quote that he said.
well, and I really don't think
follow
it's
your nose.
Saruman. I really doubt that it's Saruman for one reason. Saruman from the beginning was supposed to be more severe and more severe, less forgiving, and just a lot lot more of a douchebag.
Yeah.
Than Gandalf ever was.
Yeah.
Radagast is more like a social anxiety.
He's got
Like, doesn't want to be around people.
agoraphobia.
Yeah, he's like an agoraphore, and that's like from the beginning.
Yeah.
They're all three like what they are at the end.
Gotcha. Okay. To me, it's Gandalf until proven otherwise.
I also think
believe
it's
it's
Gandalf,
Gandalf.
but if it wouldn't surprise me if they were like, fuck you, left turn.
I mean, yeah, but
Because they've done that. They did that several times.
innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
He's Gandalf until they tell me otherwise. Literally, like. So now we can go ahead and talk about some standout performances in the show. Obviously, Morford Clark, as Galadriel, did phenomenal. Like she was probably my favorite in the show.
Well, how do you replace the
Kate
original? Yeah, how do you replace the original? She was so good.
But they're so different. Like they're just like.
But they're enough alike
Yeah.
that it's believable
Yeah.
that she could, over the next, almost 2,000 years between this and Lord of the Rings, she could change into that person. You could believe it.
That's one of the things. I think that's why they changed her character was to give her an arc throughout this show of going from this warrior fighter to like being more.
I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Philosophical.
Yeah. I like
Philosophical.
I like those long character
Yeah.
arcs where they
I feel-
really
yeah.
change and develop.
That would be her 5-season character arc, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Would be her growing into like the Galadriel that we know from the movies.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to butcher his name. Ismail?
Ishmael Cruz Cordova.
Yeah. As Arondir.
Yeah,
I think
I liked him.
It's
I
a
liked him
totally
too.
fabricated character,
Yeah.
not having to do with the stories.
That's why I was like,
he's a likable. He's a likable character.
I like
I
the
just
character.
didn't
I'm
think
just like his storyline just bored me to tears until
Yeah.
the very end.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Until we got to the orcs, I was bored with him.
It's Grey Worm. So
he does look a lot like Grey
He
Worm.
does.
I'm not
look
saying
like-
that because he does that color. It's the same character.
Yeah.
He's very flat and very dry.
Charlie Vickers as Halbrand did amazing. Just like he was just enough.
He did just enough to throw you off the scent a couple times where you're like,
Yeah.
are you fucking Hellbrand? Or-
He did a really
so-
good job.
He really did.
Right. Like at first I thought, well,
And
he's
even at
kind of
the- like,
weird, but
Even at the end, he's so threatening in a calm manner.
oh yeah.
Like he was so calm about what he was saying and doing during that whole Galadriel in the lake scene.
And he switched over from
I think it's maybe, I don't know. Might be
he switched over from being that kind of placating, sort of subservient, but sort of like above you human guy
Yeah.
to being just like a master manipulator,
Yes.
like in
So
an instant,
fast.
and it was believable. It was really good.
Markella Kavanaugh as Nori Brandyfoot. She was, out of that group of people, was my favorite.
she's not my favorite.
Out of the Harfoots,
Harfoots.
Out of the Harfoot, and mine is Lenny Henry as Sardock.
yeah,
Is that
I like
the-
Sardock.
That's the
That's the old one,
yeah.
right?
I was like, oh fuck, you got me to care about this character, then you fucking kill him, you sons of bitches. They do it every time.
To me, like the Harfoot thing was really hard to sell, and they sold it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Somehow they sold it to me, and I didn't like that they were selling it to me, but I bought it anyway.
they're
I
like,
think I
buy
like-
this, you stupid bitch, and you're
I'm like, I'll buy it.
oh,
Fucking fine. Debit or credit? Which one do you take?
cash only.
All right, let me hit an ATM. We got one right there in the corner.
But Nori was so earnest, and she was just immediately likable.
Yes.
The actress did a great job,
And I
had
think I
no
liked her.
problems with it.
I think I liked her character because, unlike the rest of the Harfoots, she wanted adventure.
Yeah.
She wanted to go out.
That's the
and
thing.
was
Oh,
Like,
that's classic.
Yeah.
What is Lord of the Rings if not for a hobbit that wants to go on an adventure?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like it would feel wrong and odd to have a hobbit that was just like, no.
Yeah.
Hobbits are the reluctant hero.
Yeah.
But whenever they devote to it, they go
Both feet.
balls deep.
Okay, yeah, you went okay.
I mean, feet deep because I got some big ass feet.
Yeah.
Big old hairy son bitches.
Better start a feet finder. And we're back on that train. All right.
Hey.
So, paired with Markella and Nori is Daniel Wayman as the stranger.
Yeah.
For
Man,
a man of so few words,
Yeah.
He done an amazing job.
It felt a little weird. It felt like
The character is weird.
It was really strangely
I think
done.
he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the way it was done. It was a little weird that he was so disassociated.
His brain just scrambled.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess if you fell down through the sky in a meteor and then woke up in the middle of a fire naked to a bunch of children, would be a little bit alarming. But at the same time, it's good. It's really good. It's really good.
I'm excited if he is, if he is Gandalf, I'm excited to see him try and portray a version of Gandalf that can talk.
Oddly enough, I can look at it and see that if he is Gandalf, I can look at it and say that's Gandalf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
You can
really
see it.
weird because again, Ian McKellen, how do you replace?
Well, he's been replaced before, so.
Okay, yeah, fair.
And then Lenny Henry as Sardoc Burrows, which we've already talked about a little bit.
Damn it.
He did very good.
Again, a hard sell, and he did it.
He's so charming and
Yeah.
you're like, God, fuck, I like you son of fuck.
Especially whenever they're like, don't do it. And
He's
there's
like,
like supposed to be you're not supposed to do that guy.
Yeah.
He's like,
you're not
"Oh."
supposed to like them.
Right. He comes off with more of a Minerva McGonagall
Yes.
instead of a Dolores Umbridge.
I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck. You're kind
Very
of
strict, but
You're strict,
really
but I
likable.
like you.
Yeah.
Fucking, you son of a bitch. You got me.
And then we have Lloyd Owens.
Owens. That's not even a hard name to say.
No, you know what happened? The Lloyd got caught up
Lloyd
in the
Owens.
Owens. Lloyd?
This
Owens.
is actually one that I didn't think it was really that good or bad. It was okay.
As Elendil. Who the fuck is Elendil? Why can I not remember that?
It's Isildur's
It's
father.
Silder's dad.
That doesn't mean shit to me.
The good guy from
The good
Numenor.
Numenorian.
The good news.
The captain from Numenor.
The one that hangs
Oh,
out
okay.
with
The queen.
Galadriel all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
He
I liked him.
I liked him, but he just kind of felt there for a large majority of it. Like he almost just existed.
It's like Aragorn's grandfather or something.
Like,
Like
Multiple times?
multiple great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it felt like. It was just kind of a
he
flat.
looks a lot like Viggo Mortensen, I'm sure, on purpose.
He got a little
yeah,
bit more
absolutely.
emotional at the end, but I think that feels out of character to me. So this is one of the ones like I have the most problems with the character. So it just was really flat. Wasn't very interesting.
And then Maxim Baldry as Isildur. Did I say that?
Isildur.
Close enough.
Is
I really should have let Ethan take over
Isildur
this
is really
episode.
not even correct. It's Isildur.
Isildur.
Isildur is actually closer, so he's better.
But he messed up the middle part of it.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I'll mess up every fucking one of these.
You
wanna-
probably will.
You want to fuck with me?
I think it's good. He doesn't look anything like
No, they
Lloyd
actually-
Owens.
Well, they kind of do. I mean, I can picture him with like a beard. I'm like, he looks close.
I'm
enough.
interested to see the other brother.
I could see him look close
Yeah.
enough to fit. And then Robert Aramayo as Elrond.
Mm-hmm.
I should have fucked that one up.
I think he's a good actor. I think he does a great job. He doesn't look anything like Hugo Weaving, and it messes me up a little bit.
If that's your biggest complaint, though, that's
Yeah, I'm
But he's
also,
still a great actor.
I'm not
though.
sure.
that's your
that-
minor.
I'm
That's
not
a minor thing. If that's your
It
biggest,
is.
I'm not sure that that the Jackson movies and this are supposed to be like canonically in the same, like connected.
They're telling a story.
It's in the same universe, but I don't know if like
if it's supposed to be the exact
if they're
same.
supposed to like these actors are supposed to look like their other counterparts because it's
Well,
No, I
sometimes
just
you
mean-
just can't get them to.
I just mean Hugo Weaving did.
yeah.
He's probably the best acting choice that they got in the entire Lord of the Rings
He's really
trilogy. He's up there. He's just does such a good job, and he looks the part. And then you've got Robert Aramayo, which also does a good job, and he looks the part.
but they don't look alike.
They don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
And then Joseph Ma as Adar. I assume it's Adar. But
It's
Adar,
a weird
Adar.
story to tell, but it again they sold it.
One of the lore things that actually interested me, I was like, oh, interesting. First elf or the first orc. I'm like, okay, all right. They were yeah. It always never really made sense to me when they talk about it when Saruman's giving the speech of like how the orcs were used to be elves when they're digging the Uruk-hai out of the dirt. I'm like, man, they don't really look that
The digging their guy out of dirt thing was always weird.
No, I'm just saying, like,
It doesn't make any
that
sense.
speech he gives when they're talking about it, where, like,
Yeah.
that's where the
Seeing how
orc
they
came from.
used to be elves.
I'm like, man, just really, like, I'm like, that didn't really connect. I don't get it.
Really brings into question, how do elves procreate? Because it's got to be the same as orcs. So do elves just, like, dig them out of the ground and be like, ah.
That's a good point.
So it's not the dwarves that pop out of holes in the
Yeah,
ground.
it's very odd.
Elves.
And then I'm going to assume this guy's name is Arthur.
Wayne? I don't know.
Owen Arthur.
Yeah, as Prince Durin.
Yeah.
The fourth.
Has all the best lines in the fucking
Yeah,
show.
he's
Every
so
single one.
great.
I'm like, you fuck.
It gave me Hagen vibes to a degree.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
It's me what I
It
think
was
of.
good. It was good. I really liked it. He was a
Give
bit
it to me
strange at
raw.
times.
God damn it.
Yeah, that's good.
Didn't even want that table, did you?
It was a little weird to me, but at the same time, it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no complaints. I really liked his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
I
funny
think
as well.
she did great.
Most of the interactions with the dwarves were funny.
Yeah.
I mean, to at least some degree.
And it makes it all the more tragic because that all fucking goes down the shitter.
That's Moria.
That's Moria.
We've been there before.
been there before. And
It was not good. We've been there before in the future, and it's not. It's not good.
Timelines.
It's not good.
Timelines, people.
Gets
timelines.
wonky.
And then Cynthia,
Adai Robinson.
yeah, as Queen Regent Muriel, who
I liked
is
her.
the queen at Numenor, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Queen Regent. Yep.
Well, Regent means that she's
Acting.
acting
yeah. Interim
for her father,
Yeah.
who died.
Yes, that is true.
because he's old.
I don't understand why she went blind and nobody else did.
It was very odd.
It was really weird. But all in all,
was like, I guess it was
I gotta say I like her
Yeah.
as the character, but nothing good happens to her from this
No.
point forward. Nothing good.
It's all bad.
All bad after this. It's not going to be good. So
It's like being, it's like being the CEO of Twitter right now.
Fucking topical. Topical.
It ain't good.
it's a literal nightmare for her from this
Yeah.
point forward.
Solid.
She gets forced into a marriage, and then she's basically just shoved aside. And then like everything goes south for her nation. And then literally it doesn't just go south, it goes down.
It goes south.
Yeah.
South.
Yeah.
The ultimate
Real
south.
south.
Yeah.
Solid. All right. So,
Under the sea.
God damn it. Last question. Should this be the start of a cinematic universe for Lord of the Rings as a brand? I assume you're meaning this as
Just
should it branch off into even further,
should Amazon make more shows?
more shows, not continue the story? 'Cause
No, yeah, obviously, this
they
story
should
is going to keep
continue
going.
the story.
This is 5 seasons confirmed already.
It's going to be weird if they do because
That's why I'm posing the questions. It's 5 seasons confirmed. They
stories-
paid for it.
That's a fucking lot.
Yeah, that's like they paid $1 billion for 5 seasons.
Jesus Christ.
yeah. Well, I mean that's the story is going to take that long because
I mean, I get that, but
it's the War of the Ring.
Yeah, we're
is
gearing
really
up.
what it's
This
going
last
to be.
season is going to end with the War of the Ring, like
No, not War of the Rings. The
War
War
of-
the Last Alliance.
the Last Alliance. Yeah,
Yeah, the War of the Ring.
That's what it's
is,
going to
Lord
end
of the
on.
Rings.
yeah.
We're assuming it wouldn't make any sense if it didn't.
Right.
Right.
It's got to end, but there's some real shit that's going to go down in
Yeah.
between the two.
So going from the different knowledge perspectives, I could care less if
I
they
think we're all going to say agree.
expand.
I don't think that they should.
I won't know. I think it should, but they shouldn't do Lord of the Rings. I think they should.
Well, I meant like
They should do more content previous.
I say Lord of the Rings as a brand. Like this is what they'll brand it as, is like Lord of the Rings, like
because I mean it's the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power.
Rings of Power,
And it doesn't matter what they did. If it was in the
Tolkienverse,
Tolkien,
whatever.
yeah, if it was in Tolkien, they would more than likely attach Lord of the Rings to it to try and get more people to come view it.
I would be happy with another version of The Hobbit.
Sure.
Like a
Because
better
I
version.
Most
really didn't
people
like
don't
The
like
Hobbit.
Hobbit.
I really didn't like the Hobbit movies.
I still have yet to watch it.
Yeah, like I said, don't need to.
Don't need to.
I need to.
We'll get to that in the actual Lord of the Rings episode, but
Yeah, and that's why I have to watch it because I have to know.
But I think they could do a lot.
If I can sit through Rings of
they
Power.
could tell the story of Beren and Luthien through a TV show. It's too much for a movie. It's a lot for 3 movies. I think they could do it better in a TV show.
my problem is the rights thing. It's just the rights are just like fucking everywhere. It's kind of like who has the rights to what is very confusing.
Gotcha.
It's really, really confusing.
He needed Christopher Tolkien needed like somebody to arbitrate the rights instead of actually having agreed on things himself.
Well, it's not that, but like even like yes, he split up the rights a lot, but like even since then, people have now just like what company has control over like this part of the Silmarillion and stuff, and then like whatever this it's really, really confusing.
Amazon should buy up the rights for like the whole thing.
He's got the money, so
I know he's
fucking open that checkbook, Bezos.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
What's a couple more $1 billion?
All right. So, any closing notes that we can think of that we need to bring up? Or just wrap it up there?
This season may have been a little slow, especially at the beginning.
It's just the setup season, though.
But it's much like Hot D. There's a lot of setup to be done for the actual story to be told. That's what this season was. That's why, like in the beginning, there was a lot of exposition, and it was very slow in those first 2 or 3 episodes. I would just say write it out, let it just kind of simmer. Let it simmer for a bit, and then when the next season comes out, it should be a lot more. Hopefully, it's still good. I'm still going to have my reservations about it maintaining its quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'll be the real kicker.
Yeah,
Especially over
the real test will be
5
season 2.
seasons.
Yeah.
Season 2 will be the real test of whether this is
especially because
because
this hasn't like.
I was originally very opposed to this TV show.
A lot of people were.
I went in with like 0 expectations of it being good. And, well, it blew that out of the water. Plus, now I really like it.
Yeah. I think the only thing I worry about is them like slashing. I don't think they will, but like slashing the budget or something because it hasn't got like
The views
or the positive press attention that I think Hot D has. And if like Bezos like jumped the gun or something, was like, well, fuck it, it's
with no nudity and it not being HBO.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying like him being like impatient and being like, nope, I'm not.
We're not seeing the numbers that we should be seeing.
I'm not gonna
cut it.
Yeah. Cut the budget. Instead of like I think it's supposed to be like 200 million on average per season. I think it's more like front loaded because they built a lot of the sets and stuff. But even if it's say like 150 million, if he's like, got to be like 75.
Yeah,
I would say like watch out for reviews. There are a lot of people out there that are just hating on it because they had before it even came out, they had predetermined not to like it.
Yeah,
and
which is a thing in everything.
It's a lot of things, but this was really heavy for this one because of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings is so popular still.
Yeah,
20 years later, that just be careful about the reviews. If you haven't watched it or if you're kind of thinking about it, I would say go ahead and watch it. Make the decision for yourself. Don't let the reviews tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Never do that.
I think we said it on the House of the Dragon episode. It's better to just always judge for yourself.
Yeah.
If you can get through it. For some people, they can't. Some people need faster pace.
Don't let reviews decide it. You watch it. If you're not into it, it's fine.
Yeah.
I've publicly said I watched the first episode of Breaking Bad. Didn't grab me. Didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad show. I'm like, it just didn't engage me.
I understand that. Well, it's like Andor. The first 3 episodes of Andor were
slow.
really slow. It's slower than Lord of the Rings.
I gotta watch it too.
But when it picks up,
And it picks up quick, and it's really good. It's really good.
Well, I think that wraps up everything. And if you want to find us and talk to us, you can find links to the Discord in the description below. You can find links to the Discord and Facebook page on anchor.fm/chaoticallynerdy. And I forgot to mention this on the House of the Dragons episode.
God damn
but
it.
we're on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
It is Chaotically Nerdy Podcast is how you find us. We're going to start hopefully sharing some stuff.
Did you do the question? Do we have a question for this?
I don't really have a question for... We didn't do a question for Hot D.
Oh,
if you have a question you want to put... Did we?
Are you Team Black or Team Green?
Yeah, kind of. Do you have a question,
No.
Mr. Tolkien?
No, but you're running this podcast.
Technically, we had a question. Should it be a cinematic universe? It's still like quite bad.
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah,
Should it be a cinematic universe? I say no.
Yes.
I say no because I'm tired of large branching universes in
media.
Yes.
Get used to it.
Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that this is new material ish.
Yeah.
I understand that the books are old.
It's an adaptation.
it's a new adaptation versus somebody doing another Back to the Future or something to
That'll
that
never
effect.
happen.
I know it'll never happen. I'm
As
using
long
it
as-
as an
yeah.
example.
Same.
Things like that keep happening. New Ghostbusters. New.
Well, those aren't reboots. Those are more like sequels, like them to like.
I know they're, but
I mean, some kind of are, but
they're a mix. All right. Now that we've vamped again, thank you guys. We'll catch you on the next one, hopefully.
bye.